رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم إنا نسألك علما ينفعنا ويرفعنا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وعملا متقبلا وشفاء من كل داء. وبعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. كيف حالكم؟ MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. All thanks and praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His many blessings that He has bestowed upon us. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever blessing you are currently enjoying, that blessing comes from none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah refers to rains as a blessing. إِلَىٰ آثَارِ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ كَيْفَ يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. Do they not look and ponder about the effects of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how Allah brings dead back to life, referring to the earth, the barren earth. Through the means of rains, Allah brings it back to life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us sayyiban nafi'a, beneficial rains inshallah, and we ask Allah to fill our dams, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to never beset us with the calamity of drought. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. We continue with a very a pivotal surah in terms of community building, Surah Hujurat. To the best of my memory, we've reached until verse number 18, and we continue therefrom inshallah bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verse number 18? No? Far from 18. What verse number? 8. How does the verse go? Halfway through 7. How does it read? Are you sure? In the middle of 7. Okay. Where exactly? ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان. خير inshallah. We'll start from there. خير. تمام. The فضلا من الله ونعمة والله عليم حكيم. Okay. So a few things inshallah. We'll try to work through the Arabic as quickly as possible and provide a basic explanation. I'm sure you're familiar with a famous supplication of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's almost verbatim the wording of the verse. So the verse said, Allah makes beloved iman to the believers, and He causes disbelief and sin to be disliked to them. And I think it's a very relevant dua to the time and space that we find ourselves in. So the Quranic ayah reads, حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانِ. So let's read through that first, and then you have some sort of like a handhold on the verse before we go to the supplication. So two things we'll discuss. We'll read through the verse, we'll do a basic translation inshallah of the meanings, and then we'll go on to the prophetic supplication inshallah. So the verse reads وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ. So lakin normally is for what we refer to in Arabic as istidrak, which means basically but. Lakin for istidrak. I don't know if we discussed lakin for istidrak. Lakinna in terms of grammar is to be treated like inna, because when you have a nominal sentence, you have a subject and you have a predicate. In other words, a mubtada and a khabar. So Muhammadun jalisun, but then when you add inna, it becomes inna Muhammadan jalisun. It works like that. So lakinna is the same like inna in that particular manner, from that particular perspective. So inna is a sister of lakinna, that's what they say. Okay? So Allahu alimun hakim, lakinna Allaha alimun hakim. So grammatically it's the same. But in terms of meaning it's fairly different. It's very different, profoundly different. Lakin with a sukoon and lakinna, you have two like that. It basically means the same thing. Lakin. And lakin in terms of meaning, I think it's very obvious when you say but. When you say but, lakin means but. But why do you say but? To make an exception normally. Now in Arabic, uniquely, now that I'm thinking about it, they don't use lakin as an instrument for exception, rather for istidrak. What does istidrak means? Istidrak means, in Arabic you have adara yudri, dara yadri means to know. Adara yudri, to cause to know. For example, Allah says to you, وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, what will cause you to know what the night of power is. So before we get anywhere else, and let's not go into too much detail because we have to cover some ground. Whiteboard marker. Okay, so what happens is lakinna. So we just want to get a working understanding of lakinna. So I say to you, lakinna is for istidrak, but that's like istidrak. It really sounds like very long, like istidrak. Plus on a Sunday morning to have to contend with istidrak, it's like, maybe I'm asking you a bit too much. So let's break it down. Istidrak. Do you want to say that after me, inshallah? Maybe it will help you familiarize yourself with the word istidrak. Okay, excellent. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So, to put it down here, istidrak. I want to tell you the root letters are dal, ra, and kaf. Daraka. If you look at daraka, adraka means to reach something. If you look at it, daraka. Adraka, adara, yudri, idran. Actually, see, this year's word, I'm looking at it. Istadaraka. Daraka is actually the root letters. I told you earlier on, dal, ra, ya. It's not dal, ra, ya. Now that I'm writing it out, I'm realizing it's dal, ra, kaf, which makes it easier for us. Because the root letters here, the radicals, they call it the radicals, are all proper letters, isn't it? Dal, ra, and kaf. No wow, alif and ya that sort of throws you off, right? So daraka. Now daraka means to reach or to comprehend, right? Now istidrak is to seek to reach something. In other words, it's almost like there's something out of your grasp and now you just want to basically rope it and get it back in. Okay? So that's lakinna for istidrak. Okay? So if you understood that theoretically, let me give you an example. This lesson sounds so very familiar for me, subhanAllah. Maybe I read the stuff, when I'm preparing for the class, and then I assume that we've, covered all of that ground. That does happen sometimes. So I say, let's say we have two persons, two individuals. When the one is present, the other one is always present. So let's say, in Arabic, you have Zaid, Amr, and Bakr. That's the normal examples they give all the time. So let's say, for example, Hadara. Hadara means to be present. Hadara Zaidun wa Amrun. Okay? So now what happens is, I don't have to tell you, that Amr is present. When I say Hadara Zaidun, your mind automatically jumps to, because of the history, your mind already jumps to, look here, if Zaid is here, then Amr must be here. Don't you do it like, if you see one person, maybe they come to class, they travel together every Sunday. So you see the one, your mind tells you the other one must be here because the one is here. You with me? Or like the periods, man, if you look at the periods, maybe you see me and there's somebody that's generally with me on my schedule on a Sunday. You say, if you here, and then it's in all probability. You follow me? But nobody's saying that. It's just there. So I say, Hadara Zaidun wa Amrun. Zaid and Amr is present. Okay? Now I tell you, next week I tell you, Ghaba. Ghaba means to be absent. So when I say Ghaba Zaidun, now I stop there. I say Zaid is absent. What does your mind jump to? That since Zaid is absent, then Amr is also absent. So what I want to do is, your mind is running away with you with the idea that Amr is also absent. So now I use the word lakin. And lakin is for istidrak. It's almost like I'm taking, that like the Western movies, Yeah, the cowboy, the guy, and he has this, what do you call it? Lasso. And now he wants to catch the runaway horse. You with me? Now that idea is running away in your mind that look here, Zaid is absent, so Amr is also absent. So what do I say? I use the word lakinna Amr hadara. But Amr is present. So do you see what role lakinna plays? Lakinna plays the role of there was a thought in your mind, but it's not the proper thought. So I use the word lakin to rein in that incorrect thought, which you are understandably, going with. So that's what lakin is. Lakin as an instrument in the Arabic language is for istidrak, to rein in an incorrect idea. So what happens now is, لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم. If the Prophet ﷺ had to follow you in many of that which you, in many matters, what would happen? لعنتم, it will cause you difficulty. You follow? Now Allah says, lakinna, but the status quo is not like that. That the Prophet ﷺ is the leader, but he follows you in many of your matters. Why? Because he has made Iman beloved to you. So what happens because Iman is beloved to you? Do you follow the Prophet ﷺ or not? You follow him. Lakinna, to rectify the status quo. Because if you read and you think about the Medina community, لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر, if he had to obey you in many of the matters, what idea do you get about the Sahaba? لو يطيعكم, if he had to obey you in many, it's almost like if you have a parent and children, and the children say jump, and the parents ask how high. You understand what I'm saying? Is that the right thing? That's not the right status quo to have, right? In what is correct, the children should be listening to the parents. So if you imagine using that metaphor, so to say, that the Prophet ﷺ is the parent and the Sahaba are the children. But when I say لو يطيعكم, if the Prophet ﷺ had to obey you, the Sahaba, in all of the matters, what idea comes into your mind? That they running the show as opposed to him running the show. So Allah SWT says, lakinna, but that's not the status quo. What is the status quo? Habbaba. So we can somehow continue from there. So istidrak is okay, inshallah? You get that idea? Okay. Lakinna, but, so you see again when you translate in the English language, you're saying but I don't know how much meaning really it has for us. But when you look at the word lakinna and you understand, we translate it as but the meaning is istidrak. Lakinna Allah, but Allah. And now you see how lakinna is a sister of inna, because it has the same impact on the noun following, like inna has. Lakinna Allah, but Allah, what has Allah done? Habbaba. The word habbaba is on the scale of habbaba. Okay, what are the root letters first? Ha, ba, and ba. Okay, so hababa, fa'ala. So what did we do? We joined it together. We say habba. So you follow me? Hababa, habba, ahabba. So habbaba, yuhabbibu, on the scale of fa'ala, yufa'ilu, on the second scale. So what does it mean? Hub means love. Habbaba, to cause you to love. But walakinna Allah, but Allah has done what? Habbaba, has endeared to you. Habbaba, caused you to love. What does Allah cause you to love? Al-Iman. Habbaba ilaykum, to you, Al-Imana, has made beloved to you Al-Iman. And what is Iman? Iman is tasdeeq ma ja'a bi Rasul, to submit or to bear testament to the truthfulness of that which the messenger has brought. And the whole surah is about what? About community development. And in community development, we have a sort of a hierarchy where the leader of the Muslim community is on top. We owe him our obedience. He has certain rights, responsibilities and obligations towards us, but we have an obligation towards him. And what is it? To obey him. Lakin Allah habbaba ilaykumul iman. Allah has made beloved to you Iman. And what does Iman dictate? That you obey the leader. And the Prophet ﷺ being the example here. Walakin Allah habbaba ilaykumul iman. And what has Allah done? وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Again on the second scale. Zina means beauty. Zayanun. We get a person's name Zain. Zain means beauty. So the root letters are Zayanun. On the second scale again, Zayyana yuzayyinu, tazyin means to beautify. Habbaba ilaykumul iman. Wa zayyanahu. And He has embellished it. What has He embellished? Al-Iman. Fi qulubikum, in your hearts. Tamam? حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم. Okay, so we'll go on, and or maybe we can talk about the lesson over here, because many things, and in today's time I'm not too familiar with it, but going through many verses in the Quran and just working on the ground and having experience with youngsters, right? What happens is, and this is a sort of like a discussion which can be taken on different levels. Right? So let me introduce 2 levels here very quickly and we can go on. Is there a duster? I mean, a board thing. Okay, here is. MashaAllah. Okay. So what I want to say over here is the fact that Allah has endeared something to you. What I want to talk about is, I want to talk about perception. And these are just what the ulama refer to as khawatir, things that come across your heart, perception. So what happens is, the other day I listened to a radio and they talked about perception. And there's a statement that goes around that perception is everything. You follow me? So what happens is, they give an example of a 6, right? Now, I don't know if you guys at home, we have this game called Uno, right? So now they give, and every now and then they get me to play with him. So I sort of reluctantly agree that I'm going to play Uno. So I always get confused between number 6 and number 9, because I'm not holding the card right. But actually number 6, there's a line underneath it, so a 6 is like this and then 9 is like this. So you should be able to, but that's just how I'm wired. I still get confused. Okay, so perception. So they say perception is everything. If I look from this side, it's going to be a 6, they say. But if you're looking from that side, it looks like a 9. Which this basically can lead to the argument of everything is relative. Everything is relative. I mean, that same thing is a 6 to me and the same thing is a 9 to you. That argument I find very problematic. Because we don't believe in a relative truth. We don't believe in relative truth. We believe in a absolute truth. Like, so if you look at this example, I'm going to tell you, look here, this is either 6 or it's 9. It's a 9. Who wrote it down? Did you write it down? Okay, what did you intend, a 6 or a 9? And you must tell me that's it. There's no relativity. Wallahu a'lam. So from that particular perspective, I'm going to say, I'm not going to agree with relativeness, because relativity leads to many things. For example, let's use a conventional example. To be gay, right? Now that's a whole discussion that you must look into, right? But from one perspective again, so don't quote me on this, right? Because you need to have a whole look at this whole thing about gay and all of those type of things. But from our perspective, that is it permissible or not permissible? Because simply at the end of the day, if you look at the whole argument, which is a very good argument, at the end of the day, Allah says not permissible, it's not permissible, right? So it's, in other words, it's very clear. It's authoritative. Allah says it's not permissible, not permissible. When it comes to relativity, it means that, look here, it works for me, but it doesn't work for you. You need to respect that. Are you with me? So that relative argument is brought in, and that becomes a problem when we go forward. Everything becomes relative. In other words, truth is even relative. That's a problem. You follow me? But if we, so I want to exclude this perspective from our discussion, and I want to add in terms of the ayah that we're busy with now. What happens? What happens? What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying? A person could be, let's say, in Iman, right? But what happens is, his perception of Iman is what? What is Allah doing here in terms of Iman as a concept? What is Allah doing? This is a concept out here. So Iman, let's make it a concept, right? And this is you, okay? I haven't done this in this class yet. That's you, okay? Tamam. And what do you have? Right over here you have a, okay, that doesn't look like a nice heart for you. Let's try again. Okay, not too bad. It's okay, inshallah. So that's your heart, right? So what happens is, this is the concept of Iman. What does Allah do to the concept of Iman? Allah endears it to you, right? And then what happens is, Allah embellishes it for you. So then what happens is, What's your perception of Iman? It's beloved, it's mahboob to you, and it's muzayyan, it's beautiful to you. You with me? Many times you have a perception of a person having something, going through something. It's a good thing, but the perception of the thing is what? Is bad, and therefore it becomes bad. Yesterday we took a few youngsters and about 30 of them, and we went for a hike. There's like, it's called Elsie's, it's there in Fishhook side, up and down. Afterwards I realized that in order to make the hike beneficial, what happens is the guys come afterwards, nah, is that a hike? Yo, nah man, and this, that and the other. But from my, what am I thinking? I'm thinking, subhanallah, I'm coming here, I've never ever had this vantage point of Fishhook. It's so beautiful and amazing, looking at that part of the bay, almost like in isolation. And then being out in nature and having had like some snacks along the way, subhanallah, other people don't have that leisure. Then what happened when they come back, they prepared some burgers for us, but they put it in, what do you call it? That new, it's like a bid'ah man, around today, where you keep stuff hot in. All the ladies have it now, different colors. Wonder bags. The new bid'ah, it's not so new bid'ah, it's an old bid'ah, but it's still like a bid'ah for some. So put it in there, and now you open it, so you get in foil, you get like a warm burger, So when they put it in foil, that's Wembley streak now, because they make the stuff and they foil it up and gives it the other taste. So it wasn't like Wembley, but like sort of along that line. So now I'm eating it. What is my perception? Subhanallah. What better way they're spending a Saturday morning out in the path of Allah with youngsters? But now you hear mumbling, So I think the next program we're going to have, what do we need to do? An orientation. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. It's sort of like fraying the person's mind, man. Look here, this is a ni'mah. You understand? And realize it as a ni'mah. Because if you don't perceive it as a ni'mah, it's going to be lost to you. You're like, this, that, and the other. So that idea and the importance of creating the proper perception. Look here, your child can be going to school every day, but he takes it for granted. For him it's like, but if you tell them the value, the importance, create the perception, and the perception changes about it, and then you'll have a completely different kid. You follow me? So perception on this side, I don't agree with, the relativity that perception brings into any given equation. But we find here, in terms of our development, many times there's a haqiqah, there's a reality, but we don't perceive it as it should be perceived. Then what does Allah do? Allah takes steps to influence our perception of certain things. So what happens? Iman is almost like absolutely a good thing. So, but why are we fortunate? We are fortunate in that what? حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ. That Allah has made Iman beloved to us, and He has embellished us in our hearts. It's almost like, one day I went into the guy said, people enjoy swimming. So the guy said in the locker room, like, what do people do who don't swim? That's like how much they love swimming. So now you and I, don't we tell ourselves sometimes, imagine I didn't have Iman. What would my life have been like? You see it every day. What happens to a believer? I saw one day in Buka, if your car gets knocked, like somebody nicks your car, your door, you lock the car and everything, what do you say? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Qaddar Allah ma sha'a fala. Life goes on. Do you know what a great thing that is? To believe that everything's in the hands of Allah. When something bad happens, like a speed bump, you just go slow and you go over and like, okay, mashallah, and life goes on. Then I saw one old Buddha from a masjid after Maghrib one day. A non-Muslim person, his door got nicked. And the old Buddha is trying to explain to him that, look here man, there's nothing we can do now. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and qadar Allah ma sha'a. The guy is like, his life came to an end. Why? Because he got the door of the car got nicked. You follow me? The blessings of being a believer. So the perception, if that person has the right perception, is akhirmat dunya. That's not an excuse not to look after our assets and to neglect our assets and to throw our money away and not to have a will and all of that stuff. That's on its side. But when something does happen to you, despite the measures that you put into place, what do you say? Qaddar Allah ma sha'a wa fa'al. The point I want to bring here is that perception on this side I'm not going to agree with. But perception on this side, when Allah talks about certain things, and it's Allah develops that perception, He makes it beloved to us. And then other people that you meet, does the opposite apply? I mean, sometimes if you go around a staunch anti-Muslim type of person, when he looks at Iman and the way you are and whatever you do, for you it's the most beautiful thing, but for that person, it's like what you're doing to yourself. You follow me? So they perceive this, what is beautiful in reality, and Allah's made it beautiful to us, and that's the beauty thing. So if I want to harmonize between the two things, that Iman is a beautiful thing, but what can happen is, that beautiful thing, Allah shows it as it is to who? To the believer. But then what happens is to the disbeliever, what happens? That is almost like it's ugly, it's veiled from him, you can't see through it, because there's like veils between there. You follow me? So many times when we're doing work with, sometimes you can't understand how this one is, because the perception is incorrect. And that's why I'm coming now back to the dua. What do we always ask Allah? Allahumma habbib ilayna al-iman. Oh Allah, make Iman beloved to us. Because it is beloved, but make it beloved to us so we see it for what it is. وَزَيِّنْهُ فِي قُلُوبِنَا, and cause it to become beautiful in our hearts. Iman, now you must do your will in this particular way. No, but if Iman is beloved to you, you're going to do it the proper way. But if Iman is not beloved to you, what are you going to do? You see it as incorrect or faulty, or it's not the proper way to redistribute my wealth after my demise, whatever the case may be. I'm just using that as an example. The important thing is, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes Iman beloved to us, and He embellishes it in our hearts. And the verse goes on, وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانَ. Is everybody okay with this idea here? I think it's a very important lesson. I'm hoping that you would benefit from, inshallah. It's my, sort of like, just my working with youngsters and just day-to-day life that teaches you that perception is something that needs to be contextualized and put in the proper context before we discuss, what perception is. Right? And Allah grant us the best perceptions of things, and that's what this dua is all about. Another dua, similar dua is what? Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa. Oh Allah, show us the truth for what it is and allow us to follow it. And show us falsehood for what it is and allow us to abstain. Because many times what happens is, something which is like falsehood, it can appear to you to be, this is the right thing. And then what happens is, we fall for it. So the dua is, oh Allah, show us the truth for what it is and allow us to follow. And show us falsehood for what it is. Because we're living in a world of deception. Particularly in today's time, where something wrong is embellished to such a degree that we actually see it to be right. Tamam. Wallahu a'lam. Everything is about perception. Everything is about perception. When Allah talks about Fir'aun, who killed off half the children of Banu Israel, what was it? What did Allah say? وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبٍ. The shaitan, زُيِّنَ لَهُ سُوءُ عَمَلِهِ, that his bad actions was made to appear to be good for you. So perception again. Most people, when they do wrong things, they don't do it because they know it's wrong, and that's why they do it. All of us are intrinsically good. So when we do a wrong thing, either that wrong has been embellished so it makes it look right. You follow me? At the worst scenario, just a normal human being, right? What does he do? When he does something wrong and he knows there's no excuse, he knows it's completely wrong, what does he tell himself? An example in Quran would be the example of Yusuf alayhi salam. His brothers, when they threw him into the well. I mean, how could you justify that? They did try to. That look here, the problem is, it's not our problem. It's Yusuf's fault. Why? Because our father loves him more, right, than what he loves us, and that's wrong. I know we must put it into this wrong. You follow the justification. You can look at it like that. But okay, let's say they can't justify what they're doing. They're throwing him in a well, leaving him there to die. Right? You can't justify that. What did they tell themselves? Okay, what I'm doing is wrong. But what we're going to do? وَتَكُونُوا مِن بَعْدِي قَوْمًا صَالِحِينَ. Afterwards, throw him in the well. Afterwards you become pious. That's what they said. So you tell yourself, this is the last movie of this nature that I'm going to watch. Tomorrow I'm going to make my fajr and everything is going to be, I'm not going to do this again last time. You follow me? I'm not saying movies are haram. I'm saying that type of movie. Movies are different. One to another and to another. So let's say like all of us agree this is a bad movie, you're not supposed to be watching it. Right? So now what do you tell yourself? How do you justify yourself? There's no way you can justify yourself that, look here, no man. Mullah said something about, there's no way you can justify that. Right? So then what do you tell yourself? Last one. You follow me? So what I'm saying is that it started off on perception. Everything's perception, even sin. To Fir'aun, He perceived it, it was embellished to him to be what? And from his own world, he construed it that, look here, it's fine. So we want to be amongst those that the truth is always maintained as the truth to us. And our perception of it is the proper perception. And we don't want to be from amongst those that when something is wrong, but in our perception, we perceive it to be right. And that's problematic, particularly in today's time, where we have this whole idea of a relative truth, which is, sort of very much out there, that if it works for you, it's okay. It doesn't work for me, it's not okay. Right? Wallahu a'lam. وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ وَالْفُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانِ. And karraha, again on the second scale, we're getting quite a bit of practice in terms of the fa'ala, yufa'ilu, taf'il verbs. You must tell me when the period comes in inna. وَكَرَّهَ, and he karraha, yukarrihu, takrih means to karaha. You know the word makruh. Kaf, raha. Kariha means to be disliked. So karraha on the scale of fa'ala means to cause something to be disliked. Right? And there you get the maf'ul makruh. Makruh means reprehensible, something which you're going to stay away from. So kariha, to be disliked. Karraha, to cause something to be disliked. So what does Allah do to us? وَكَرَّهَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكُفْرَ. And He has made, what's it called, abhorrent, right? Sorry? Disliked. Naam. وَكَرَّهَ, and He has made disliked. How does it go? إِلَيْكُمْ, to you. What does He cause to be disliked? Al-kufra, disbelief. Naam. وَالْفُسُوقَ. Fusuq refers to any type of vice. Fusuq, the plural of the word fisq, refers to vice. Wal-isyan, and sin, transgression against the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what does Allah end off by saying? أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الرَّاشِدُونَ. أُولَٰئِكَ, plural of the word هَذَا, هَذَانِ, and أُولَٰئِكَ. Or what do you, هَؤُلَاءِ. Then you get ذَلِكَ, and then you get ذَلِكُمَا, isn't it? ذَلِكَ, ذَانِكَ, and ulaika, demonstrative pronouns. Ulaika is the plural. They are these people who that iman is embellished to them and kufr is disliked towards them. Ulaika humur rashidun. They are ar-rashidun. Rashid is from the root letters rashada. Rashada means rightly guided. Rashada, Rashid, a person who is rightly guided. We have that name also, Rashid. We talk about khulafa'ur rashidun, the rightly guided khalifs. Right? Rashidun. What does rushd mean? Rushd. Rashidun, rushd. They say Rashidun means rushd. You know, if you like, maybe example, you taking bow and arrow, and then what happens is you get bullseye. Right? Now that act of taking the arrow and getting it into bullseye, that is called rushd. When you isabatu shay bizabt, when you get something completely right. Ulaika humur rashidun. You could put the word accurate, but the bow and arrow example works, but it's broader than that. It's about getting things right. So therefore, when the month of Ramadan is coming now, then Allah, you reading Surah Al-Kahf. What dua did they make? آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. So and prepare in our matter. What should we prepare? Allah, rashada. Look here, we're in a bit of we need to make decisions all of the time to ensure our safety. So when we make the decisions, let us make rashada, the right decision. In other words, get it right. So you got a whole lot of things over there, but you need to get it right. You need to choose the right decision. Choosing the right decision in life means you are Rashid. You with me, right? Ulaika humur rashidun. They are the Rashidun. If you look in terms of Islamic contract law, in order for you to have contractual capacity, like you deem yourself to have contractual capacity, which means you can buy, sell, you can do all of those things, right? From an Islamic perspective, a Rashid is the opposite of a Safi. A Safi is an incompetent person. But what qualifies you as a Rashid? Here Allah is talking about what? You follow Iman, right? And Iman is beautiful. And you dislike sin and everything else. According to the Shafi madhab, for you to be competent, for example, you find like in today's time, a person, like an insolvent person. So what happens to if a decree of insolvency has been put on a person, can that person contract? No, you can't, because all of his goods have been attached and whatever the case may be, right? So now he can't. A miner takes his Legos or whatever and goes to sell it. It costs 1,000 rands. He goes to sell it for That's one Lego set and he 5 lollipops. So his profit is like 4 times more because he sold one thing and he got 4 things more, right? So now, does he have competence? Not at all. You follow me? Now, Rashid, in terms of the Shafi madhab, refers to a person who is competent in terms of his monetary issues, his wealth. In other words, he knows that this is valued at maybe 1,000 rands, that is valued at 1,500. He's not going to pay for, what do they call that stuff that you buy, brother? Candy floss, right? So he's not going to pay 100 rand for a candy floss because the price and the counter value doesn't equate. You with me? If a person does that, we're going to say, look here, no man, there must be an interdiction must be placed upon you because you're wasting your money. You with me? We all, common law is going to agree on that. Added to that, in the terms of the Shafi madhab, a Rashid is a person who's competent in terms of his dealings. We get that example. And he must be competent in terms of his deeni matters. In other words, he must make salah, for example. If a person doesn't make salah and he comes to the marketplace, we're going to consider him from the Shafi madhab, which is the strictest of all the madhab. The other madhab just let it slide, but the Shafi madhab is going to say, look here, you don't have a competency to deal in the marketplace, so sorry, we can't deal with you. Why? He's the most astute business person. We say that if you cannot fulfill your right towards Allah, how are you going to fulfill your right to your fellow business person? That's the argument going along. Are you with me? So rushd is a very particular phenomenon, and if you apply it to different issues in terms of fiqh, you get different meanings. Therefore, Umar radiallahu anhu, ourselves, what happened is Umar radiallahu anhu, the time in Medina, the marketplace, when the Prophet ﷺ came, one of the first things he established was the marketplace. Right? So Umar radiallahu anhu, in terms of the marketplace, do you say, لا يدخل سوقنا إلا فقيه? That only a faqih, a jurist, a person, not like a alim or a faqih or that. No, it refers to a person who's awfay, who's familiar with the rules of trading. Only he can come into our marketplace. You follow me? Now what happens is, we consider ourselves, if somebody must tell you that you're not contracting properly, what did you say to the person? Anta wa sha'nuk. You worry about yourself, what are you worrying about me? You follow me? If somebody tells you, look here, you're not maybe budgeting properly, you will say, no, help me. So you're making salah properly, help me. But if somebody tells you, look here, that deal that you did there was incorrect, you say, mind your own business. You're with me? We have this ajib sensitivity when it comes to money issues and so forth, like almost like a hands off you can't, which is a pseudo-secularist approach to Islam. Because Islam governs us in terms of our money also, and everything else that goes with that. But here, Rashidun, may Allah make us from the Rashidun, in the biggest sense of the word. I just wanted to give you a better idea of what rushd means. So when Allah says, Ulaika humur Rashidun, means that they are on the right path. They are like that guy who's taking the bow and arrow and is getting bull's eye. So when Iman is beloved to you, give preference to Iman over everything else, then what does Allah say? What category do you belong to? Ulaika humur Rashidun. You are doing the competent thing in terms of your deen and in terms of your dunya. Ulaika humur Rashidun. And what is this at the end of the day? At the end of the day, if you're a believer and you see things for what they are, what does Allah say? Because of, what do they say colloquially? You the No, fadlan min Allah. Fadl means from the grace. This is just a blessing. Fadlan min Allah. The grace, min Allahi, from Allah, wa ni'mah. And it is a blessing. It's not that, sometimes maybe you do the right thing. And then you look down on other people. You're doing the right thing, right? Maybe that person doesn't know what you know. And therefore you're doing the right thing. So now, to look, Habib Ali was you come out to the masjid, and now, a youngster like you are, and maybe you were there like last year before Mizan, and the music is blaring, and also like chilling out and everything, and so astaghfirullah, tawbah. And so what happened is, if you do that with looking down on people, then that's not right. And if you do it in that manner, our ulama say that before those people have fallen in your esteem, you've already fell in the esteem of Allah. But if you do it like astaghfirullah, if only they heard what I heard, if only they know that this is not the right way to go about things, that this is wrong, that's different. You with me? So the fact that Iman is beloved to you, you on the straight and narrow path, mashallah, alhamdulillah. What is that? Realize that it is fadlan min Allah. That is a grace from Allah. If Allah wanted to, He could take it away from you and give it to somebody else. Fadlan min Allahi wa ni'mah. Wa ni'mah is a grace. Therefore there's a aqidah thing which is like, really you And you have to, that's why they say Aqeedah, you can't make taqleed, follow somebody else in terms of the Aqeedah. In terms of Aqeedah, you can explain all the nitty gritty of Aqeedah and everything, but at the end of the day, it's the belief that you hold in your heart that Allah is going to judge you on. One of our ulama said, when you look at somebody doing something wrong, and you look at with the eyes of the reality, and what is the reality? That Allah created you and whatever you do, Allah is in charge of everything. So in other words, if somebody is engaged in an act of disobedience, right, is that by the leave of Allah? Yes, nothing happens outside of the ambit of the ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you look at people from that particular perspective, and then what happens is, you say Alhamdulillah, Allah didn't decree that for me, Allah decreed better for me. But when you look at them with the eyes of Sharia, you know what Sharia says, this is right and that is wrong. And then you maybe have a reason to say, look here, what they're doing is wrong because the Sharia says it's wrong. So you look at the two-tiered approach when you look at things. You follow? So on the one level, when you look at somebody's doing something wrong, in terms of the reality, that the being that gave that person who's doing wrong the ability to do that wrong, and the being who gave you the ability to do what's right, it's the same being. Allah just chose you and gave you the option to do what is right, and that person doing what is wrong. So then you get a better appreciation of what is happening, and you thank Allah. فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَنِعْمَةً. Whatever it is that you have of goodness, what is it? Because of you? No, not because of you. If you really think about it, فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ. It is the fadl, the grace of Allah. وَنِعْمَةً, and it is a blessing which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon you. تمام. فضلا من الله ونعمة. That's ajib. I think this ayah helping me understand you understand that bit of theology, the Islamic theology. You know, because people are doing wrong. Who's responsible for creating it wrong? Allah is. So then when you're doing good, who's responsible for creating the good that you're doing? Allah is. So what's the difference between the two? The difference between the two is that you must just be grateful that Allah chose you, that goodness is happening by your side and not what happening on the other side. You with me? فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَنِعْمَةً. So when you do good, it's فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ. It is the excellence of Allah, وَنِعْمَةً, and a blessing. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. And how you thinking to yourself, this way, that way? وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ. Allah is most knowledgeable. حَكِيمٌ. Allah is most wise. And we submit to the knowledge of Allah, the all-encompassing knowledge of Allah, and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We stop there inshallah, and we continue when we meet again. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.